No, but my thing is like recently, I'm seeing these videos on social media where I feel like every day there's like a robbery now.
Oh yeah, like car thefts, jewelry stores,
especially at the jewelry store, right? Even like that what's that? The plaza near Ellesmere and what is it? Eglinton. Like they're just driving a truck, crash into the jewelry store and they just take it and they just run away. And obviously, there's a sentiment in Canada that maybe our bail system is not strong enough. They're not getting arrested soon. What do you think about this? Now that you're the justice minister, like, how are you gonna approach this?
Look, I've heard this at the door a fair bit, and I've spoken to some business people as well along the way. I see I understand the deep concerns people have. There are some realities though that are kind of removed from this discussion, right? Canada, the way Canada operates is that the federal government is responsible for the criminal code. We're also responsible for what's called penitentiary. So anyone who's serving more than 2 years will go to a federal penitentiary. Anyone who's serving under 2 years will go into a provincial facility. Anybody who's held on remand, which means that if you're arrested and pending your trial, then you stay at a provincial detention center. There are some serious challenges with both the bail system in the province, in all the provinces, not just Ontario, as well as the detention centers, because there's a lack of detention space. So oftentimes when somebody goes in front of a justice of the peace, they're not held for a longer period of time, even though the laws does, if somebody poses a risk, they should not be released into the public. And that is something that's already enshrined in law. So there's some misunderstandings as to who's responsible. And look, at the end of the day, people don't care who's responsible. They just want this to be fixed. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I will do after the election is to make sure that we have these conversations with the province and work in collaboration, because right now it's just like, I'm pointing to you, you're pointing back at me. Mm-hmm. We need to have some serious conversations about how to work together to have a seamless, justice system that does hold people who should be held accountable to account, and others, be given opportunities to have off ramps. Yep. Now, one of the things that I did in my life prior to politics, prior to even law, was work with young people, especially those who were in trouble. And one of the things that I've done even as an MP is to look at who is in jail. So if you go to an average facility for women, federal penitentiary for women, over 50% of those who are incarcerated are Indigenous women. More than a quarter of those who are incarcerated in a federal penitentiary for men are Indigenous men. Okay. The second cohort being young black men, right? And you kind of look at the statistics. Oftentimes, these are a result of what's called mandatory minimum penalties. So it's not just as simple as saying, you do X, you go to jail for X number of years. Like, that's a very simplistic approach that's been tried in the United States and that's proven to have failed. Because all it has done is have maximum security prisons built over and over again, and just house, millions of particularly young black men who end up coming out as older black men because they've been in jail for too long, which means that societies are letting down people, right? Mm-hmm. When people make a mistake that can be redeemed, there should be off ramps.
But if you look at El Salvador, because of the new president there, he did something like the maximum prison, and he basically got all these gangsters and he just put them there. Right now, their crime rate actually went down because of what he did with his country, right? So there is some success stories too. Sure, we're looking at the U.S., but obviously,
I think we have very different, very similar forms of protection, like in terms of liberties and rights, as in the U.S., right? Although that may be dithering over time, but the notion of the rule of law is similar. But my point here is that there is no one size fits all, right? So not everybody who's going in front of the court is the same, and that person should. The judge who we appoint and who are highly qualified should have the opportunity to judge for themselves what is merited in terms of a sentence. And sometimes a mandatory minimum penalties may not be enough. It needs to go beyond that. And the judges should have the flexibility to do that. And we made amendments to the law that enables judges to do that.